In millions of our homes, there's this invisible battle being fought every single day. It's the battle for comfort. And believe me, nowhere is that fight more intense than in the absolute toughest climates. So today, we're going to dive deep into one of those battles. We're using a real-world case study to see the incredible pressure our home systems are under and what happens when they finally give up. All right, so here's our roadmap. First, we'll tackle the climate challenge itself. Then, we'll look at how these systems actually break down under all that pressure. We'll walk through what a professional service call looks like, face that huge repair or replace question, and then wrap it all up by seeing why local knowledge is really the secret weapon to winning this fight. So first up, let's meet the main villain of our story. We're heading down to Missouri City in Southeast Texas. It is the perfect arena to see what happens when our modern homes go toe-to-toe with a seriously unforgiving climate. This quote from our source material, it says everything you need to know. We're not just talking about a few hot days. We are talking about a relentless demand that pushes mechanical systems to their absolute limit for months and months on end, with pretty much zero rest. And here's what that pressure actually feels like. The weather report might say 95 degrees, but you throw in that thick, oppressive Gulf Coast humidity, and it feels like 110. For your air conditioner, that means it's not just fighting heat, it's waging a full-on war against moisture at the same time.
And see, it's not just one challenge. It's a war on three separate fronts. You've got the brutal heat, forcing the system to run constantly. Then there's the humidity, making that same system pull gallons and gallons of water out of the air every day. And then you've got this secret enemy right under your feet, shifting clay soil that's creating a slow-motion earthquake, literally trying to pull your house apart.
So what happens when you're fighting a war on three fronts? Well, you're going to get some casualties. Let's take a look at the most common ways these systems finally wave the white flag when the climate just becomes too much. This one is the big one. Think of the compressor as the engine, the heart of your air conditioner. And as our source points out, after chugging along for 12, sometimes 16 hours a day in a nasty heat wave, it's often the first major part to just give out. It's the most critical component, and yeah, you guessed it, usually the most expensive one to fix. Hey, remember that shifting clay soil we talked about? Well, here is the direct consequence. As the ground moves, it yanks on your house and pulls your ductwork apart. Next thing you know, you're paying a fortune to have the coolest attic in the neighborhood while your actual living room is hot and stuffy. It's a total energy vampire created by the ground itself. All that water your AC is pulling out of the humid air, it has to drain somewhere. It flows through this little drain line, which just happens to be the perfect, dark, damp breeding ground for algae and gunk. When that line clogs up, the water backs up and often overflows right into your attic or your walls. People often think their roof is leaking, but nope, the real culprit is the air itself. And just when you think it's all a mechanical problem, a new issue shows up: regulations. See, if your system is from before 2010, it probably uses a refrigerant called R22. That stuff is now phased out for environmental reasons. So if you spring a leak, just finding and paying for this obsolete gas can cost an absolute fortune. It turns what should be a simple repair into a massive financial headache. Okay, so we've seen the problems and the full-blown crisis they can cause. But dealing with that crisis isn't about guesswork. It requires a really clear process. So let's look at the methodical, step-by-step approach the pros use to actually get things back on track. A real professional response is so much more than just swapping out a broken part. It's a system built on transparency. It all starts with an expert diagnosis to find the root cause of the problem. Then, and this is critical, you get a written, upfront price. No surprises. Finally, after the repair, everything is tested, they explain what they did, and they guarantee the work. It's a process that builds trust, not just a working AC unit. So, this professional process often leads every single homeowner to a huge fork in the road. When a major part fails on an older system, you have to make a big call. Do you pour more money into aging tech, or is it finally time to upgrade to something new and efficient? To help make that call, our source material gives us this fantastic, practical tool. It's called the $5,000 rule. It's simple. You take the age of your system, in years, and multiply it by the estimated cost of the repair. If that number comes out over $5,000, then replacement is probably the smartest financial move in the long run. It's a little bit of math that takes a lot of the emotion out of a really stressful decision. And this table just lays out the trade-offs perfectly. I mean, look, yes, the upfront cost to repair is lower, no doubt. But look at everything else. With a replacement, your energy bills can plummet by 30 to 40%. Future breakdowns, they're covered by a warranty, not your wallet. And you completely reset the clock with a brand new 12 to 15-year lifespan. It forces you to shift your thinking from what's this going to cost me today to what's the best investment for the next decade.
Of course, the absolute best way to handle this tough decision is to avoid it completely. And that is where proactive maintenance comes in. Simple regular things like cleaning coils, checking refrigerant, testing connections, and clearing out that crucial drain line, these can catch the small problems before they turn into those catastrophic, system-killing failures.
When you boil it all down, this entire case study points to one single, powerful truth. In an extreme environment, a generic one-size-fits-all approach is absolutely doomed to fail. Understanding the local context isn't just a nice little bonus, it is everything. I love this line because it just paints such a vivid picture. You cannot use the same solution in a place where the soil moves and the air is water, as you would in a dry, stable climate. It just won't work. The geology and geography literally dictate the right way to engineer the solution. Local knowledge isn't about knowing the streets. It's about knowing the soil, the air, and how they team up to destroy machines. And this, right here, this is like peeking inside the expert's secret playbook. These aren't just suggestions. They are the invisible layers of science, regulations, and codes that are all designed to protect you, the homeowner. From federal EPA rules on refrigerant to local county permits and complex industry calculations for sizing a unit, every single step is there to make sure the job is done right. And that brings this whole thing right back to your front door, doesn't it? We've taken a deep dive into the challenges of one Texas city, but the principle here is universal. It forces us all to ask the question, is my system just some generic box that was stuck on the side of my house? Or was it designed, installed, and maintained with a deep understanding of the specific climate challenges it has to fight day in and day out? The answer to that question is the difference between comfort and crisis.